Well, hello again. Uh, Fourth time is the charm, right? So
Yeah.
Tuesdays at Rises Studios are all about light the torches, where we get to bring to you extraordinary men and women who have written these beautiful, insanely incredible masterpieces. And I am joined again today to light the torch with another fellow author, and her name is Stephanie Kraemer, and she has written the book Nauti Girl that was released today. It's all across Amazon. You can get your copy. All you got to do is push the order button. So, welcome and congratulations. Let's light the torch.
Woo! I do have a special glass of blue juice here. Now, this is my beautiful wine glass, but I promise you, everyone, it is not wine. It is not alcohol. It's a little rehydrate, but I thought it was cute because it's blue. So it's my blue water today.
I love it. I love it. So, how does it feel to have this book out there? I know we were chatting just a little bit prior to this about the labor of love, but how are you feeling right now?
Oh my gosh. Well, for those that are viewing, you can probably tell that I'm a little red because I'm blushing. I am absolutely ecstatic. I mean, this has been a goal of mine for so long, and I can't believe that I finally made it to the finish line. So, that said, I want to give you, Hannah, a huge, huge thank you. Hannah, for those of you who do not know, is one of the owners of She Rises, published author, speaker, just amazing human being. And a kudos to her and the entire She Rises Studios team, because seriously, without all of you, we would not be having this conversation right now, because I would probably still be trying to figure out how to do everything on my own rather than leaning into the experts. So thank you, thank you, thank you so much for having my back and allowing me this opportunity.
Oh, thank you so much. That's so sweet of you. Thank you for sharing that. That means a lot.
Absolutely.
But this is all about you. This is about you, what you've done, what you're doing, what you're working on. Like, this is your baby. So let's dive in and talk about this. Let me put my eyeballs on.
No
I
pun intended, right?
right. I have some questions. So this book, Naughty Girl, you use the metaphor of the sea to describe turbulent moments, and I wanted to know if you could just share a little bit about what that is. Like, give us a little sneak peek. Don't give away too
Yeah.
much because we really want people to get the
Yeah.
book.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do share, and it's widely known that I was born in the Navy, and my father was a quartermaster. So both my older brother and I were born in Virginia. And I talk about this in the introduction, but for some reason, and I think it's because I was born there, I have always had this connection to water. I obviously, like, water is life. Water is a part of every being. And water is truly who we are. So I really started thinking about that. And I had to dig back to my roots to really figure out like what I wanted to put forward to the world. And as you might imagine, it's been an incredibly vulnerable journey. But the more I thought about water, the more I thought that I really wanted to use that as a metaphor, because for so many people, water is incredibly healing. And when we're talking about trauma, when we're thinking about trauma, I wanted readers to know that they are not alone in this, trauma journey. And that was something that was really important to me. I know we said that today's all about me. And if it wasn't, though, for all of my experiences, if it wasn't for, my friends, my family, if it wasn't for the readers right now, I wouldn't have this finalized product. So to me, water and healing and that uniqueness, I realized that I'm not unique in the fact that I've experienced, not to brag, right, a lot of trauma in my life. And as I started this writing journey, yes, I wanted to have water as the metaphor. I thought it was kind of cool because part of my writing process in the beginning, before I even put pen to paper, and I did that as well. You know, I wasn't always typing. I did review a lot of journaling, etc., and writing, which was helpful for me. But before I even did that, I did a ton of research. And I looked into other books that utilized trauma or discussed trauma. And what I found, I wasn't necessarily overjoyed with. I found myself really grappling with the idea that if we follow XYZ, if we follow this 10-step process or program, that we are going to be healed. We're going to be recovered, right? So everything that I was finding talked about trauma recovery. And I thought, you know what? I don't like that very much. So which is great, right? That's what makes books different. That's what brings forward the individualization. But I knew that, to me, I started thinking about, I don't know why, but, you know, alcoholics and, you know, individuals who really struggle with alcoholism or narcotics of some sort. And I started thinking about that term. And so I utilized the term traumaholics. And so in my book, Nauti Girl, I, you know, relate all of us as traumaholics, because I don't believe that we ever recover from trauma or, you know, negative experiences, however you want to phrase that. I believe that we have to wake up every day and do things, right? And I share more about that in my book, but there are actions and things that we can do every day to ensure that we are putting our best foot forward. But I do not believe that we fully recover from those traumatic experiences, whether they be, you know, the big traumas that I do reveal in my book, or some of those smaller traumas that some people might not always think of when they hear that word.
So when you're talking about, I, you know, first of all, I don't know if I should say this out loud, but I agree with you. I think that every one of us faces some type of trauma. And we, number one, we can never judge the size of the trauma, because how each of us as human beings perceive it. But you're right. When you go through traumatic experiences, you never forget it. You may learn from it. You may feel the feels. You may go through it, but you don't ever forget something traumatic. I think the words recovery sometimes are used a little loosely. So I actually agree with you on that. And I like the terminology traumaholic. So I'm kind of taking it two ways. So I'm going to ask you this. Meaning like a person who has already gone through trauma. So it's kind of like they're attracted to it almost. It's like it's one traumatic event after another after another. So how can we as human beings say, hey, look, we have faced this trauma. However, it's like what you said. You get up every single day, you take it step by step, and you put your best foot forward. But you don't always focus on the trauma, right? You're focusing on putting the best foot forward.
Absolutely. Okay. So yes, absolutely. I actually brought something here with me today, because if you notice some of my background, you might not be able to tell a ton, but my office is now Wonder Woman, because I am obsessed with Wonder Woman. But this is a new remodel. So prior to, I do share this in the book. I won't give too much, but as a teaser.
Oh, I love that.
So this is the sign. Everybody who's watching, this is it. I saw the sign. No, you don't want me singing.
I love it.
But this is the sign that I saw in my office one day when I was looking for some sort of a clue. I mean, I truly, backing up, prior to even writing this book, thinking about all of my life experiences thus far, I had a moment. And that moment I talk in detail about in the middle of Nauti Girl. But what had happened was that all of these emotions came flooding in, and I felt like I was looking for someone to give me permission to jump on board of my own journey. Right. And my husband, one of my biggest supporters, I'm sure my mom would say she is, too, but, my husband, he has been there for me, truly since day one, without judgment. So my husband, Kyle, love you, babe. But he, had to take the brunt of a lot of my frustrations. And, we've been together for almost 11 years now. And so through some of the ebbs and flows that we experience together, even as a couple, we are stronger now than ever. And the experience that I talk about in one of my chapters, I just had this moment of like clarity after he had said a couple things to me. And I came downstairs into my office and was literally spinning in this chair. And I saw that seize the day sign. And I thought that that's it, right? That my husband gave me permission, but I was looking for something else, right? Like that wasn't enough. And I've never been one to subscribe to society's expectations of who or what I'm supposed to be. That's actually why I love Glennon Doyle's book, by the way, Untamed. She talks about these metaphorical cages. And I'm right there with you, Glennon, if you're listening. I know you're not, but it'd be awesome if you were. So finally, I gave myself permission to just, quit the BS and decide for myself the life that I wanted to live. And I recognize that that might look different for everyone, because last year I left my corporate job, which again, not everyone has the luxury to do. I recognize that. I have been building up my life for 11 years, knowing that eventually something was going to happen, right? I was going to hit this breaking point. I felt these anchors, these triggers, I refer to them as anchors, these anchors weighing me down in so many experiences. I use the word anchors, but for those, listening, and Hannah, I think another word that people might resonate with are these red flags, right? Like you meet someone and you have this experience, or you go somewhere and you have this experience, and we feel it. We feel it in our gut. We feel it in our core, but we avoid the red flags. And then we wonder why the universe isn't giving them to us. It's like, hey, you know what they are? We're just not paying attention. So I finally decided that day, I'm paying attention. I saw the sign. I'm going to do it. I've built up, a life to the point where I could leave my corporate, my 9 to 5. I do have other streams of income coming in, but I was going to share my story with the world. And it's something that has been many somethings that have been buried deep within me for a long time. And I just needed to pull out that anchor and say, you know what? Even if my story only helps one individual, it was worth putting out to the world. And that's when I just started writing. That's when I started writing. And I apologize, I talk a lot. No, I'm not sorry. Sorry, I'm not sorry.
I think I find writing to be super therapeutic. And plus, I feel like every time we're writing, journaling, whatever we're doing, when we're putting it to paper, it's a release. It brings forward things that we don't normally think of. Sometimes you discover things, you're like, wow, and hearing you say that you have this incredible husband who has supported you, and of course your mom. But you described where, during this 11-year journey, he's taken the grunt of it, but now you're stronger together. So it's just another example of what you were saying of, you don't forget, but you put your best foot forward. It sounds like you've surrounded yourself with some really incredible people who have helped you and believed in you, even maybe when you didn't believe in you, which I think is huge. Aren't husbands the greatest? I mean, they're the that sometimes they're the punching bag for us, sometimes they're the cook, sometimes they're the comforter. So I think that's very beautiful that you shared that. So one of my questions that I wanted to ask you today is, now I believe that this book is for every reader. But what is your biggest hope in that the takeaway from this book will bring someone who really sits down and is open to reading it and understanding? What is your hope for them?
Legacy. So I think about the legacy that I want to leave on this world, because truthfully, I have a fear of dying. And I have something that I want to read to everyone too, something that I found that's important to me. But I want to leave a legacy that really inspires and empowers individuals to live their authentic lives. And the way, one way I should say that I want to do that is through this book and through writing. And that's really twofold. I want readers to walk away knowing that life happens for us, right? I say that a lot throughout the book, and that's really the theme. And I know that that might not resonate with everyone. It feels ick. It feels uncomfortable, especially when we're talking about something like trauma. I get it. But just read the book. Read the book. But life really does happen for us. And when we think about our experiences, whether they are good or bad, positive or negative, it's all in the eye of the beholder, right? It's all about our perspective, because you and I could have two different experiences about this interview right now. So life happening for us, to me, is an empowering mindset where we know that every experience we have as an individual in life might not be wrapped in a pretty little bow, but it's still a gift, right? And it's almost along the lines of the philosophy, like your junk could be someone else's treasure, right? And I talk about a little red treasure chest, in the book as well. But I really want people to not only believe, but feel that life happens for us. And then second, I had already mentioned this, I want individuals to walk away knowing that they are not alone. We are all in the same boat, right? But if you're on the right side of the boat and I'm on the left back of the boat, I'm experiencing turbulence maybe a little differently than you. If you're in the front of the boat, you might see the iceberg ahead, whereas if I'm in the middle, I don't see it quite yet.
Yes.
And so I want individuals to know that what we experience, no matter how traumatic, it is okay. And I promise you that if you do the work on yourself and do your best to have this mindset change and shift that I talk about, one of the things that I talk about, life will be a lot better for you. And that's the whole, trauma to triumph piece. Now, am I living my best life right now? I mean, some days I like to think so, but I wake up every day and there is a lot of things that I have to do, to ensure that I am happy, I am smiling, I am genuinely excited right now. And that doesn't happen, overnight either. So it's not a follow this step process and you're going to, be recovered, right? It's a work on these things every single day. according to what you need. You know, I provide suggestions, but they're just that. Like, what works for you might work for you, and what works for me might work for me. And that's truly what I'm talking about in the part 3, so to speak, of my book.
So tell me, you know, you're saying like you put your best foot forward, you start your day. When you're feeling those days of that trauma, what does that look like for you? How do you kind of just say, you know what, this was then, this isn't happening now, but it's still something that lingers. How do you kind of get out of that, you know, when it starts to go that way?
It is not easy. And there are many days because I have a huge passion for community service and volunteering. And I have found that, you know, when we help others, and specifically for me, that looks like animals in the animal world. When I can help animals heal and find homes, and when I can be the voice and fight for those who cannot fight for themselves, I automatically feel better about life. And every morning when I wake up, I do have a nightstand and I have a gratitude journal in there. And as cliche, I know, everyone, I get it. As cliche though as that sounds, after writing 3 things, I'm not saying spend, you know, hours and hours doing this, but literally wake up, I write down 3 things in this journal, because that's the journal that I have. And I make the conscious effort to remind myself that, I mean, I am here, I am alive, and it is up to me to make it a great day. Don't have a good day. Ugh. Like, make it a great day. And that for me starts with gratitude, right? Like, gratitude is the GOAT. I know there's so many cliche sayings, and I promise I didn't like use those. But in terms of metaphors, like, I do believe in that. So having gratitude every day is one thing. And when I am feeling a little down, 100%, like, we cannot do this journey alone. Okay. So whether we call it friendships, whether we call it the sisterhood, since next month I am running for the United States of America's Mrs. Wisconsin. These amazing women that thank you. These amazing women that I have had the opportunity to surround myself with, you know, and then of course you have family and friends, but you have to find what your community looks like, because not everybody has a good relationship with their family, right? Not everybody is close with their parents. Not everyone has parents around. You might be an only child. So again, I say that with caveats, like finding your people. Your people might not be family. Your people might not be friends. Your people might be animals, you know, whatever that means to you. And then finally, so really, again, that self-awareness and just having the gratitude, you know, surrounding yourselves within that community, but also celebrating. And actually, it's something that I'm really sad I left out of my book. It's one of my regrets because my outline was incredibly long. And I'll talk a little bit about that writing process, but I don't know that I really drove the point home in my book. So hopefully everyone listening, celebrate. If you know me personally, you know I am a huge celebrator. Doesn't matter. I love celebrating. I love birthdays. If you have a birthday, like woo woo. Sometimes it drives my husband crazy. Right? It's like every day is someone's birthday. But I truly believe that we all need to celebrate along the way. And celebrating for you might be, you know what, friend, you got out of bed today, right? Some of my dearest friends who are in the process of writing a book, you know, suffer from different challenges. And truly, if my friend, I'm going to call you out, you know, if she can make it out of bed like that and not feel maybe some physical pain due to some of her conditions, that is a huge win. And that is something to be celebrated. You know, others, if if you made it through the day because you are stuck in a job or a career that feels unfulfilling to you, that could be your success. Maybe you launched a book, woo! And that's your big win for the day. Success truly looks different for everyone. My husband Kyle and I are infertility warriors, meaning that we have been unable to have children. And so we have a non-traditional family, have a lot of fur babies in our home. And it was actually something that my mother had said to me recently when we were talking about success. And there's, people think like traditional success is financial, right?
Mm-hmm.
You are successful if you are financially free. For some people, yes, absolutely. But maybe for others, they are successful because they have a family. They've been able to bear children, right? And that has been their lifelong goal. And so that really put me in my, tracks. Like that really made me stop and think, because I was finding myself spiraling down, right? I was getting caught, I was getting pulled and weighed down by one of my anchors. And it took someone to say like, hey, you know what? I feel that I have been successful in my life because of these things. And so I think it's really crucial to our mental health to celebrate the things that we want to celebrate, the things that bring us joy, and forget what other people are thinking. Again, do not subscribe to society's expectations of who or how you're supposed to be. I say that all the time, and I truly believe that.
I truly do too. And there's something else I noticed. When people go through trauma, a couple things can happen. One, they can learn and grow from it, or two, they're angry. The anger turns into a very negative, narcissistic behavior. And then the next thing you know, they are now creating trauma for others because they did not grow through that trauma or work through it. Like what you're talking about, like taking those steps, taking the action steps every day, even when it hurts. So they become these unhappy, narcissistic people who cause trauma for other people. It can be like this crazy, vicious cycle, the anchors that you're talking about, so I think too, for people who are reading this book, people who are listening to what you're saying, number one, don't be an anchor, right? Work through your stuff. Don't be an anchor. Gratitude is everything. It is. And it's not cliche. It's true. I haven't done this in a while, but I think today's Light the Torches were meant for me to host because I never do them. So I had a conversation with someone earlier today in the announcement of her book, and she was talking about love, peace, life. Like life is meant to be beautiful. And so these anchors that you're talking about, these anchors that you are releasing still every day, right? It becomes this more freeing process over time. And next thing you know, you have no anchors. You're literally walking on sunshine. You're feeling better, and you're releasing that energy to the world too. You're helping other people release. So that's how I see you. Is this woman who's showing the way, and a badass at it too. Excuse my language for those people who don't like the A word, but it just is. right? So how now that the book is out, you have this supportive family, supportive husband, lots of friends on here who are sending comments. What can we expect? What can we look forward to over the next couple of weeks to see from you? I know that this is a big thing for you. I know you want to share the process of the writing, which I'm excited to hear. But what's next? What are you working on?
So many things. You are all here, so you are hearing it first. I one of the challenges from, the book writing process is that I wanted to put everything in the book, right? And I wrote all sorts of things. I had to get rid of it. And I wanted the book to really feel like a memoir-esque, and not autobiography. So there was intentionality behind it. And there were stories that I did not include. And there are also some cliffhangers with various relationships that I talk about, with the trauma stories that, kick off really like the entire first part of the book. And so all of you, because you're here first, yes, it is true. I am going to be writing a second book, and it will be a sequel to this as a follow-up, where I do share some other stories that are pretty traumatic, but it'll directly tie back into that celebration piece, as well as some of the relationships that you might be wondering about, or some of the situationships that have occurred in the book, like where am I at now? I will tell you that there is light in the darkness. Okay, there absolutely is. And I 100% know that as a fact. You want to know why? Because you are the light, right? You are the light in the darkness. And so it just takes a little while to see that, to feel that, to recognize it within yourself, right? We are not stripping away all of the parts of us. And that is something I also feel strongly about, where typically, healing and recovery is associated with as being a subtractive process, where we're removing all the things that aren't us to become our best selves. And actually, again, for me, that's not what I believe to be true. I believe that those parts are always a piece of us. They're never going away. And so once we start embracing them and embracing those dark pieces and learning from them, we start becoming the light, right? Like we are the lighthouse. We are the lighthouse. So
maybe that's the title of your book. You never know. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Thank you. I don't know what the title will be yet, but probably something, with naughty in it, just because I want you all to know that it is like a sequel or a follow-up to this book.
So you wanted to share something. You wanted to read something today.
Yes. So I have a couple things here that I wanted to share in terms of the writing process. And so something that I will share with everyone, if you are thinking about writing a book, of course, I'm going to tell you to go for it, because I truly believe that we all have stories. Just some of us are maybe more brave to share it at certain times. And so I'm giving you the bravery. I'm giving you here, I'm giving you permission to come aboard and share your story. So some of the challenges for me during the writing process, right when I first started, what I found actually be helpful was to just word vomit everything, right? I had already said this, all the feelings I was having, word vomit. And so for me, that looked like, I should have said this to this person. I should have told her how I really felt. I should have said that a little bit differently to that person. And eventually I was shitting all over myself, right? And so don't do that. And what I ended up doing is getting it all out though on paper. So really I was venting to a friend, and the friend was my paper. So I put it all out there first, and that was incredibly helpful to then comb through all of the garbage, right? And figure out where those treasures were and what I really wanted to talk about and focus on. So that was a big piece for me. And then knowing that, again, my two core values, authenticity and accountability. So I really wanted to stay true to who I was in this book, and sharing recollections to the best of my ability. So I want everyone to start from the beginning, whether you've, purchased the ebook, or, I really hope you all in 2 weeks, when the physical copy, comes out, the hard copy, soft copy, whatever you want to call it, please do buy that, because I do have different and other like activities in there that could be helpful, circling, highlighting, all the things. But that's in 2 weeks. And so for me, some of the challenges that I found in writing, to name or not to name. And if you're thinking about writing, at first I never utilize names. And so during the editing process, I actually went back and I did use pseudonyms. So again, everyone start from the disclaimer, because there's a lot of information in there, whether ebook again or the physical book. Please start from the very beginning, because in the disclaimer, I do share, I too have the mouth of a sailor, right? Like I do swear, not today, but I do. Yeah, I'm not perfect. But I do talk a lot about like the water being healing and some of the metaphors and things. So please start from the beginning, read that disclaimer. And then I do share in there that, I do use pseudonyms. The real names that I use, like my husband, Kyle, I have his permission. And so that was something that I have to thank my editors for, and my beta reader, Lisa, for, because it really made my writing come to life more, right? Rather than saying my former boss or my ex from college or whatever I said, it didn't feel personal. And I really want to connect with you. I want to connect with my readers. And that was something I didn't realize right away because of that fear, right? I had this fear of someone coming, after me or suing, right? Everyone has that, not everyone, but maybe a lot of new writers have some common fears about publishing for the first time. So that was a challenge. And that was something I decided on. I'm deciding which stories to include versus not include. Again, that was really challenging for me. And just know that if you do write a book, if you write a story, whatever it is not going to be perfect, right? There's probably going to be a typo or two. I'm human. There's probably going to be something that needs a little bit more sorting out. And I just had to be okay with that, because I also fell into the trap of editing as I wrote. And that is a big no-no, okay? So if you're thinking about writing, do not edit as you go, right? You just have to write. You can always go back and edit.
Exactly. But I love that. Yes.
Yeah. I found myself editing as I went, though. And so I just had to keep reminding myself, and in my, author group, amazing women over the past year and a half that I've been working with, that was something we had to keep each other in check with. And then finally, we're talking about trauma, right? I'm sharing some very vulnerable stories. And in order to be relatable and let my authentic personality come through, I also wanted it to be witty, and I wanted to be humorous. That's tough to do when you're talking about trauma. So I found that to be a little challenging as well. But as as the editors at She Rises said, like my Nauti Girl book is a smart book. So I really hope that readers read slow and pick up on the humor, pick up on the silly innuendos and metaphors, depending upon the time of my life of that story that I'm sharing.
Well, I think it's a great book.
Thank you.
I love the fact that it's a smart book for sure. It is definitely. I think that's amazing what you have done. Yeah.
Thank you. And one piece again that I will share that I have here in front of me. If anyone is looking for further inspiration, here's something else that I did and that I've been doing, I would say on a semi-regular basis. I have a very large tub in my storage room. It's a plastic bin that holds all sorts of writings and photos and achievement awards, like the presidential fitness award, but from back in 4th grade. I don't know why I still have that. Oh, the glory days. But I found something that I couldn't believe. And it really showed me that my core value of authenticity is shining so bright. And I have gone back to who I truly am because I found this. So this is literally a writing from a project in 8th grade. Okay. I found pictures and poems. I found a poem that I wrote and it was titled Fear. Okay. Here's what I wrote. I'm not kidding you guys. This is my actual handwriting. My maiden name is on here. Fear. I said, do you ever feel fear? Either others or the reflection in the mirror? Do you ever stop to think about all those challenges that you've been dealt? Do you ever stop and say, why me? When you know your truth is that's how it was meant to be? Do you ever feel like running away, but then you realize that you're trapped in a cage and there to stay? I now know that this is also real because inside it's the way myself and a lot of people feel. Where's my mini mic? I have a mini mic. Mini mic drop right now. Mini mic drop. I wrote that in 8th grade. That's literally my book in a nutshell here at almost, I'm almost 40, everyone. I can't believe it. Like I wrote that and that was how I was feeling. I was talking about truth. I was talking about these metaphorical cages. I was talking about challenges that many of us feel and face. And here, so many years later, because of this sign in my office and, all of the emotions feeling, I was just like, I got to do it, right? I have to write this book. And sure enough, it is my truth, right? It is my naked truth.
And it's beautiful.
And it's beautiful. Thank you.
It's beautiful. So you have a lot to celebrate. Sounds like you have a lot more inside in store for you. Congratulations to you for everything that is happening. And so Nauti Girl is available all across Amazon. And as she mentioned, it is currently an ebook. So get your ebook. But it does come out in 2 weeks in paperback release. Either way, you can order it on Amazon. You can order it across the retailers. It's circulating as we speak. All very exciting. And we wish you absolutely the best. I think that this is truly a new beginning for you. And I can't wait to see what other anchors you release along the way. So congratulations. Before we leave today, how can people connect with you, follow you, become a part of your journey, or what's a good way for people to connect?
So I do not have a personal website just yet, but I am all over social media. So please, find me on Facebook. I think many of you listening right now are friends with me already on Facebook because you're joining live. But then also you can find me on Instagram. I do post different things on each, and I do have my link live on Instagram right now to purchase, where I'll eventually end up having a website on there with different avenues, then with resources and my books, and then eventually getting back into public speaking. That was a previous career of mine, and I'm really hoping to leverage this book to launch me back into public speaking and talking about not just my book, but truly the things that I believe in, like giving back to the community and giving back to the world. So they can follow me on social media.
All right. Well, you heard it first here from Stephanie Kraemer, author of Nauti Girl. This book is very beautiful. It's a smart book, like she said. We wish you all the best success. I can't wait to see what's in store for you. And congratulations to you, all your readers, future readers, and what's next to come. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Bye.